That dark day was beginning with a seemingly simple moment that would change his entire life. Who would have thought that a glass of wine and a desire for silence would turn into such a storm? You touch those tags, and I'll break your wrist. The words cut through the stale bar air like a switchblade. But Mick Rourke didn't listen. He smirked, greasy and sure of himself, and reached anyway. He never got the chance. Lena Maddox moved fast, faster than anyone expected. One hand caught his wrist mid-air. The other slammed his face into the table hard enough to scatter beer bottles and silence half the room. That he howled, sputtering, his voice muffled against splintered wood. She attacked me. No one moved. No one stopped her. She didn't yell, didn't gloat. She just leaned in, voice cold and quiet. You reach for me again, she said. I won't stop at the table. Mick staggered back, clutching his arm, face red and stunned. His buddies, 4 truckers with sunburned necks and full mugs, rose to their feet like they were deciding whether to jump in or run. Lena didn't care which. She stood calm and composed, in that battered camo jacket and combat boots still dusted with desert sand. Her eyes were unreadable, her pulse steady. She'd been through worse than 5 drunk cowards in a nowhere bar. 10 minutes earlier, she just wanted a drink. She walked into the dust barrel on the edge of Ross, Montana, planning to spend 15 quiet minutes alone with a club soda. No conversation, no noise, no threats. 14 months overseas had hollowed her out. Iraq, Kuwait, dead zones and bad nights. She didn't come back for a parade, just a moment of quiet. But quiet didn't live here. That IT started the moment she sat in the back booth. The bartender gave her a nod, poured her soda, without a word. Then came the whispers, the snickers, the comments. Check out the jacket. Some Halloween costume. You think she's really military? Mick had been the loudest, first with jokes, then with venom. Now he was the one gasping, humiliated in front of his friends. She faked it, he barked, voice rising again. She ain't real. Probably got that uniform at a thrift store. The bartender dropped the glass he was drying. That woman just flipped a man twice your size, he said dryly. Maybe shut up. But Mick was already charging back. And that's when the sirens hit. Red and blue lights painted the dusty windows. 2 deputies strode in fast, one tall and white, jaw like a brick, the other a black woman with sharp eyes and a badge that didn't need words to be respected. They split immediately. The woman walked toward Lena. The man headed straight for the truckers. Got a call about an assault, the female officer said, stopping at Lena's booth. Yes, ma'am, Lena replied evenly. He reached for my dog tags. I stopped him. You military? Staff Sergeant Lena Maddox, just back from deployment last week. You got ID? Lena pointed to the duffel beside her seat. The officer reached in, pulled out a crisp army dress shirt with ribbons pinned above the pocket, and beneath it, her military ID. Across the room, Mick was ranting louder than ever. She jumped me. That jacket's fake. The male officer turned toward his partner. She raised the ID. She's legit, she said. Very. The room shifted. The kind of quiet that comes right before something breaks, or someone does. Officer Jordan, the woman, handed Lena back her ID. You handled it better than most would, she said, voice low. Lena gave a faint nod, said nothing. Mick was still ranting. She had no right to touch me. You reached for her, the bartender snapped again. She attacked me. Officer Miller, the tall cop, stepped forward. You saying she walked over and smashed your head in for no reason. Mick hesitated. She overreacted. She stopped you, Officer Jordan said sharply. You crossed a line. She finished it. She looked to Lena again. You pressing charges? Lena looked at Mick that he was still gripping his wrist like a trophy, eyes bloodshot, pride in pieces. No, she said. Jordan nodded. Smart choice. For him. But Lena wasn't smiling. This wasn't over. Lena Maddox's breath hitched for a moment as she looked at the remaining truckers in the bar. The mixture of entitlement and wounded ego was clear in Mick Rourke's eyes. For a brief second, she considered saying something, anything, but the weight of the moment was enough to push her thoughts away. She shook her head slightly, barely noticeable. I don't want to see his face again, she muttered, her voice steady despite the chaos still buzzing in the air. That's enough. Officer Jordan nodded, her stance unwavering as she addressed the men in front of her. All right then, here's what's going to happen. She pointed firmly at Darren and the others. You're leaving this establishment immediately. Any more noise, and you'll be spending the night in county lockup. The truckers didn't argue. Not this time. They began to collect their jackets, muttering to each other, avoiding Lena's eyes. Mick lingered a moment longer than the others, his gaze still burning with something dangerous, but it was the dying kind of anger, one that didn't have much fuel left. He said nothing. He just turned, shoulders heavy with defeat, and walked out. The officers followed them out, the door swinging shut behind them, leaving the bar in a strange, almost suffocating silence. Slowly, the room began to breathe again. Conversations resumed, though the hum of the jukebox seemed quieter, subdued, as if the bar, too, knew that something significant had just transpired. Lena slid back into her booth, her body still but alert, like a hunter in the aftermath of a chase. The adrenaline was still there, just beneath the surface. Her hand rested on the table, steady. Good. She wasn't shaking. The bartender, a quiet figure with a gruff voice, approached with a fresh drink, sliding it over to her. "On the house," he said, his tone rough but grateful. "Thanks," Lena replied, her voice a little softer now. "You handled yourself," the bartender said, almost in awe. "Better than I would have." "I'm used to it," Lena replied, her eyes still fixed on the drink. She took a slow sip. "More than I should be." The bartender didn't speak again, but there was understanding in his eyes. Lena didn't need to elaborate. She hadn't come here to be a hero, to prove anything. She had come to breathe. As the night drew on, a few patrons approached her, a respectful distance between them, acknowledging her in small, quiet ways. One man simply said, "Thank you for your service," before moving on. A woman touched her shoulder gently, offering, "You handled that with real grace." Lena nodded each time, a brief gesture of thanks, but nothing more. She wasn't here for validation. She wasn't here to make a statement. She was here because, for a moment, she could forget everything else. The weight of the world could wait. The minutes stretched into an hour. As the bar began to empty, Lena left a few bills on the counter and stood, ready to face the quiet outside. The parking lot was still, save for the flickering light of a street lamp and the hum of her engine in the distance. She pulled her jacket tighter around herself as the cool Montana wind bit at her skin and made her way toward the car. That's when she heard it. "Hey." Lena turned. It wasn't Mick, not Darren either. This time, it was the younger man from the group, the one who had said little, just followed along like a shadow. His name came to her, Eric. His body language was different now, hesitant, almost apologetic. "I wasn't sure if I should come," he said, lifting his helmet and running a hand through his messy hair. "Then why did you?" Lena asked, her voice calm but sharp. "I needed to," Eric replied. "That night, I didn't say anything. I just stood there, let it happen. I thought if I didn't say anything, I wasn't part of it." He shifted, uncomfortable. "But I know I was." Lena folded her arms, watching him. "And now, I'm sorry," Eric said, eyes cast downward. "I've seen a lot of people in uniform, but I've never seen anyone shut a room down like that. You didn't flinch. You didn't run. You just stood there. I didn't see a threat, Lena. I saw someone who was like my sister." He hesitated, a rough exhale leaving his chest. "She served in Afghanistan, lost her leg to an IED. She doesn't talk about it much, but I see it in her. Her eyes, that steel. You had the same look that night when you pinned Mick to the table. It was like you came back changed, and you're still standing tall." Lena's gaze softened, though she didn't respond right away. The words struck her in a way she hadn't expected. Not because it healed anything, nothing could heal that, but because it was rare to hear such an honest admission. Eric took another step forward. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. And thank you. You didn't owe us a damn thing, and you didn't break. You're stronger than I thought." Lena exhaled slowly, her eyes still on him. "You ever fix a carburetor?" she asked suddenly, an eyebrow raised in challenge. Eric blinked. Not since high school shop class." "Then you're due for a lesson," Lena said, a faint smile tugging at her lips as she turned toward the garage. Eric hesitated, unsure if she was serious. But Lena didn't wait for an answer. She continued walking, and after a moment, he followed her inside. They spent the next hour in quiet labor. No speeches, no dramatic apologies. Just the steady sound of wrenches turning and tools clanking. Lena showed him how to fix the carburetor on her father's old pickup truck, teaching him, with patience and quiet authority. "You ever talk to Mick again?" Lena asked as they finished. "No," Eric said, his voice quieter now. "Don't think I will." Lena nodded. There was no need for more words. The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. It was full of something deeper, something unspoken. "Thought you were going to press charges," Eric remarked, his voice still uncertain that Lena's gaze was steady. "I thought about it. But people like Mick, they feed off attention. They want to be seen as victims." She looked at him then, her expression sharp. "I didn't do it for show. I did it because if I let him take those tags, I'd be letting men like him win. and I've seen enough of that already." Eric didn't respond. He didn't need to. They closed the hood of the truck together, the sun sinking low in the sky, painting the world in soft hues of orange and pink. When Eric mounted his bike again, he gave her one final look. "Thanks for not slamming me into the table," he said weakly. Lena smirked. "Don't get ahead of yourself." He chuckled, then revved the engine, pulling away as the sound of his motorcycle faded into the distance. Lena watched him go, her eyes lingering on the road ahead, her boots echoing in the quiet. Then she turned back toward the garage. She closed the toolbox, turned off the radio, and leaned against the wall. The world was still heavy, still full of weight she didn't know how to lift, but for the first time in a while, it didn't feel like she was carrying it alone. She looked down at the tags around her neck, feeling the weight of them, the history. And in that moment, for the first time in a long while, she didn't feel the need to hide them. Some battles don't end in explosions. Some don't even make the news, but they matter. The quiet ones, the ones where you stand your ground and walk away whole, those are the ones that change everything.